Thank you so much on behalf of the Rabbinical Assembly, both to have the opportunity to speak today and also to learn about Rabbi Davidowitz, who I didn't know much about until now, but who's a fascinating human. Rabbi Harry Davidowitz was, as far as I'm aware, the earliest Rabbinical Assembly member to make Aliyah. According to the letter he sent to his congregation informing them of his decision, he did so out of a, quote, desire to devote himself to upbuilding the Jewish homeland in Palestine. This was in the mid-1930s. Davidowitz was ordained in 1913 at the Jewish Theological Seminary in the days of Salman Schechter, and the program from that event lists him as giving the valedictory address. Davidowitz went on to serve as a military chaplain, as we heard, in the First World War, and he was recognized with a Purple Heart and the Victory Medal. After the conclusion of the war, his career continued much like many Rabbinical Assembly members at the time. He served as a congregational rabbi in Philadelphia and New Jersey, and then an Anshe Emet congregation in Cleveland, which is now known as Park Synagogue. And he was significantly involved in the Rabbinical Assembly, serving on the Executive Committee, the Committee on Social Justice, and the inaugural Committee on Jewish Law formed in 1928. In his memorial entry in the Proceedings of the Rabbinical Assembly, he is described as possessing gentle sincerity and warmth. However, in Israel, he considered himself more of an industrialist. He wasn't working as a rabbi. In 1946, he came back from Palestine to attend the Rabbinical Assembly Convention. In his speech there, he described quite vividly and with pride the building up of the land and the colorfulness and the multi-ethnicity of the Jews who came to do so. In that speech, he also proposed how the rabbis of his time ought to relate to those involved in building the land of Israel. Let's hear a few sentences in his own words. Religion in Palestine must have something to say on everyday life, not only on the question of the Sabbath. That when the worker feels that he gets the proper conditions of work, he does so not merely as a worker, but as a Jewish worker. It should spring from the spirit of Jewish living that fairness and justice in industry is part of the Jewish heritage, which had been denied to him for many generations as a form of expression. Davidowitz is describing, in the words of his own time, the values of our time, that we advocate and work towards building a society that is just and equitable because of our Jewish values. From his descriptions of the Tel Aviv that he knew in the early 30s and 40s, I sincerely doubt that he would recognize the Israel today and its modern struggles. But he paved the way towards a vision of Israel as it could be. 78 years later since his speech at the RA, I'm certain that the 250 Rabbinical Assembly members who've joined us in Israel as part of this convention this week continue his legacy, equally committed to envisioning and working towards an Israel that lives up to its values and ideals. Yehei Zichro Baruch, may his memory continue to be a blessing.